Okay, now if anyone has any chachmas, you should just know it's going to be on YouTube. Good Vach. We're learning as a schus for Shleima for Ilan Chaya Basarach and for Bas Tzion Bas Chaya. We're on Daf Tzadi Gimel Amid Aleph, I believe. If you could correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're 4 lines from the top. Gufa, which is a continuation we just had mentioned in the previous Gemara as a Raya. We were talking about whether there are strings, whether the where the chaylev is that is aser. So Gufa Amr Ba'aba Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel chaylev shehabasar chayfa isay mutter. The chaylev that the basar covers over is mutter. That means the chaylev that is on the ksalim. The ksalim are the sides of the animal, the flanks. There are 2 layers of chaylev. There's a chaylev on the bottom and a chaylev on top. So we said before that the chaylev on bottom is shuman. It's not the chaylev the Torah says chaylev asher al aksalim. Asher al aksalim. So it's the one that's on top, not the one that's on bottom. So the one that the basar covers over is not the one that the Torah refers to. The fats, tarba is a word for chaylev or shuman, fats. The tusi masna, underneath the masnayim, the groin or the chelik of the basar of the animal. As aser, it's aser als chelev shalak salim, even though it's underneath the masni, which is the basar. Amrabaye behem b'chayeh pruki mifrika. Says no. Abaye answers that a behema, while it's alive, it moves around. The joints and the organs shift around. So even though after it dies, the masnayim cover over this fat, but while it's alive, the animal's alive, this fat is uncovered, so it's considered like chaylev that's on the ksal. Amr of Yochanan, and I'm sure all of you will at least feel sympathy for the beginning of his statement. Ano lav tafchana v'lav bar tafchana. I am neither a butcher nor the son of the butcher. I really don't know much about how an animal is constructed. I just know I get I know what a nice ribeye steak looks like when it comes in a package. But ever I went to the base medrash and I heard them say, I heard in the base medrash that they said that there is such a reality that an animal, while it's alive, its bones and its muscles and basar shift around, and therefore it is entirely possible that the chaylev that is at times underneath the masnayim at other times is revealed, and therefore it will be awesome. Amri Rabba Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel chaylev sha'al hamasais ubeis hakaisis. The masas and the beis hakaisis are 2 of the 4 stomachs of a ruminant animal, that they have 4 different stomachs. This is the second and the third one, I think. Asurin, the chaylev that are on those, asurin v'anish kars. The chayiv kars, those are fats that. What's the pasuk? Beishtei haklois es achel v'ashalein eshal aksom v'esa yiser sal kavya. There's also the Torah says ala kerev, those that are on the innards. So the innards is the masas and the beis hakaisos. Those are the innards of the animal. V'zeu chaylev she'ala kerev. That's the chaylev. The Torah says v'hikar v'zbeach hashlamim ishal Hashem es hachaylev v'machas es hakerev es kol hachaylev asher ala kerev. This is called chaylev that's also to eat. Amr v'Abba Amr v'Yehuda Amr Shmuel hay tarba de kalibusta. The fat that is on top of this bone called the kalibusta, which is a bone at the end of the spine near the tail. So the chaylev on top of that, asher v'anish kars. It's also asher and anish kars. There's no chaylev shalak salam. This is not the chaylev on the kerev. This is the chaylev that's on the flanks of the animal. This is considered to be part of the flanks. Those veins and sinews that are in the foreleg of the animal that these are they carry blood into the leg of the animal. Asur. So the Gemara says, Amr of Safra Moshe, which is an explanation of surprise, or he's calling him Moshe Rabbeinu. Mi Amr Achmano Lo Seichel Bisra. These blood vessels are in the basar. Why shouldn't you be allowed to eat them? Amr Rava Moshe Mi Amr Achman Achel Dama. He said, no, this is dam. The Torah, we know that you're not allowed to eat the dam of a behema, and this is dam. So he's gonna say, this is dam. Generally, the dam, there's a relatively easy way to remove it, but this is gonna need l'chayra a stronger way to do it. Katicha malicha afilu kedera nami shaper. Since it's dam, however, you can cut it open and salt it, and do a strong salting on it, and then you can even put it in a pot. This is considered to be full of dam, so you have to do a full-fledged what do you call it?
Salting.
Removal process by both cutting it up and salting it, and then you could put it into a pot. A pot, obviously, the blood doesn't have anywhere to go, so if there's any blood in it, it's not going to get removed through putting it in the pot. Amar Yehuda Amar Shmuel, as we're going to see later on, this is in contrast to roasting. If you roast, then you don't have to do the cutting and the large amount of salt. Rashi will say you just need then a small amount of salt. And I think we put everything into salt, but I guess the other parts of basar that don't have so much salt, fat, so much dam inside of them, so I guess they don't need to have removed midaraisa. Yeah. Zaktuma. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Reish Meya Ba'amsa. The beginning of the what do you call it? The part of the, I don't know exactly what it's called. What does Rashi call it? Reish Meya Shadak and Yotzem and Hakeva. These are the intestines that go out of the last stomach of a ruminant. So we say that first ama, boy greira. There's chalev on top of it, and you have to scrape it off before you can eat that. I guess they want to make kishka from it. I can imagine this is the most tasty thing. V'zeu chalev shala dakin. This is the chalev that's on the dakin, meaning the Torah doesn't say shala dakin, but we know that the Mishnah says that the chalev, the Chazal say the chalev that on the dakin is asur. That's on the intestine, the digestive system. So that part is still like we said, the chalev that is on the karev, which is the innards, that includes the entire digestive system, or the stomachs of the digestive system. So this is the first amma, where the intestines meet up with the stomach, where they leave the stomach, and that's still considered, the chalev on it is considered to be like the stomach. Rami Yehuda, chutin sheba ukatz, the chutin, the strings that come out of the ukatz. What is the ukatz?
Hip.
I'm sorry?
The hip.
Right. The hip, the back of the animal, asurin. Chamisha chuti ispe bekafla. So these are also considered, I guess, to be of the ksalim. Now the Gemara tells you a general rule. Chamisha chuti ispe bekafla. There are 5 of these strings on the flanks, which is the ksalim of the animal. Tlasa miyamina the tartim ismaila. 3 on the right side and 2 on the left side. Tlasa miftzalil trei. The 3 that are on the right side, they branch out into 2 smaller veins. Each one is 2 smaller veins. Trey, and the left side that has 2 main veins, niftalila tlasa. It goes into 3 each. What's the difference? Why do we care how many there are? If while the animal just was shechted, you pull these out, they'll all come out and it won't be a problem. But if not, you got to dig out after them in order to remove the chaylev, so you have to know how many there are, so you know what you're looking for. If you're on the left side, you have to find two main ones that split into three, and if you're on the right side, you have to find three main that split into two each. Amar Rabbi Vitem Rabbi Yehuda, Chamisha Chutei Havi. There are five main chutim, meaning there are five varieties of chutim. We just said that on the flanks there are a bunch of chutim, but we're talking about now about the categories of chutim. So there are five categories of chutim. Tlasim mishum tarba, three of them are also because of fat, because of chelev. Utrein mishum dam, and two because of dam. The tachli, the ones on the spleen, or the kafli, which is the ksalim on the flanks, or the kulisa, and on the kidney, mishum tarba. All of those, that's what the Torah said. In the case of tachli, I think it's because that's the ksalim. Both of them, the tachli and the kafli, are both of. I'm sorry, the tachli I think is the innards, the karev, and the kafli is the flanks, which is the ksalim, and the kulisa. The Torah says the kulya separately, the chaylev asher al koyas. So all these are mishum tarba. The yado udeloya, the foreleg of the animal, the vein in the foreleg, and the vein in the jaw of the animal, mishum dama. Those are because they're soaked with blood, and that's why they're us. Lamai nafkamina, hani mishum dama. Those are because of dam. If you cut them up, umalachlu shaper, and you do a gezunta malicha on them, shaper dami. Hanach less lutakanta. But the chaylev, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't remove the chaylev, or the chaylev has to be thrown out. It can't be fixed. Amrav Kanavi Tamer Rabbi Huda. Chamisha krami havi. We were just talking about veins or strings that go out throughout the animal. Which ones are awesome? There were five categories of that. There are also five categories of membranes, which are thin coverings that are awesome. Have it. Tlasim mishum tarba, three are awesome because of the chaylev, v'trei mishum dama, and two because of the blood. The tachli, the kafli, the kalisa mishum tarba. There is a membrane on top of the spleen and on top of the sides of the animal and on the kidney. So those, they carry on them the chaylev, and therefore they're also because of the chaylev on them. The bay or the micra, those of the bay, which is the testicles, or the micra, and of the mayach, the brain, mishum dama, they absorb a lot of the membrane. At least we all know, I'm sure Menachem is well aware of this, that if someone gets a head injury, it bleeds a lot. So the membrane on top of the brain has a lot of blood in it. Yehuda bar Oishia have a koliflei tachla levi braid Rav Huna bar Chia. Rav Yehuda bar Oishia was he was peeling off the membrane on top of the spleen. Like we said, it has chaylev on it, so he's taking it off in order that Levi, the son of Rav Huna bar Chia, could eat it. He started peeling it off from the top. The spleen is thicker on the top and narrower on the bottom. He said, continue going. It's not enough just to peel the top of the spleen. You have to also do the bottom. Asa Avua, his father came, Ashkechei, and he found him. This is what the father of your mother said. Mishum de Rav, b'shem Rav, umanu Rav Yirmeh bar Abba. This is Rav Yirmeh. The only part of the spleen, of the membrane covering the spleen, that's also because of the chaylev on it, is on the upper part, not the bottom part. He said that the membrane that's on the spleen is asur, and you're not chayiv on it midaraisa. You're not chayiv kares. It's only midarabanan. Hechidam. That we said is asur midaraisa. We said that it's going to be chayiv kares. Ella dekule. What he meant to say, he must be referring to the bottom part. That part is only asur midarabanan. I'm not exactly sure. So why wouldn't he have to? So he's saying that it must have been that it's asur midarabanan. So why are you telling him you don't have to do it? Amalei Tanya Tanya. He said, Ein Chanami, I'm not going to stop him. Shtaka, go ahead and do the whole thing. Kufa, Amar Hamnuna. Tana. Kum shalat chul aser, ve'en chayav alav. Kum shababi kul aser, ve'en chayav alav. We said the membrane that's on top of the spleen is aser, and you're not chayav on it. And the krum that's on then we're talking about the kloyas, these kidneys, aser ve'en chayav alav. These are all midrabanim. But Tanya chayav alav. We have brises that say chayav for the membrane both on the spleen and on the kidneys. So tchulat cholei kasha, like we just said, we just explained about the tchul. Ha-keneged adad, ha-shaloi keneged adad. We're talking about one's only also midaraisa on the top part, but on the bottom part, not keneged adad, is only midarabban. Kulia kult yonami lekasha, and the kidneys are also not shver. Habi lo, habi tato. There are two membranes on top of the kidneys. There's one underneath the chalev and one on top of the chalev. So so Rashi says the uppermost one is part of the chalev and it's 100% chalev and it's also midaraisa, but underneath it's not also midaraisa. The part in between the kidney and the chalev is really part of the kidney. Bei hashilta. If an animal had a beya, it's we're talking about a testicle that was damaged while it's inside of the animal. So it's still attached, but it's in bad shape. It's only slightly attached. So the problem is like this. If it's considered to no longer be part of the animal, even though it's stuck inside, it's kept inside the animal's the animal's body. But if it's separated, it's Eva Menachai. And even when you shech the animal, it doesn't lose its status as Eva Menachai. But if it's still considered to be part of the animal, when you shech the animal, it will become mutter. So we're saying Bei Hashilta, Rav Ami Ravasi Chad Asa V'Chad Shari. One says it's mutter, one says it's asa. Man the asa, the one who says asa midoloi kabari. But the fact that it doesn't heal, when this animal reaches this stage, it can no longer reverse itself. So that means it's not getting nourished from the body. It's no longer part of the body. If it was part of the body, it would have healed. It would part of the body's natural regenerative properties, recuperative properties, would allow it to heal. So hani ever menachai, therefore it's ever menachai. Man the shari, the one who says mutter midoloi kamisrachun. Hani chiyusa ispahu. For the fact that they don't get worse, that they don't decompose, anything that's alive, that's not being nourished from a body, will decompose. So the fact that it's not decomposing, that it's still getting nourishment from the body and it's part of the body, so it's not even menachai. The idach, l'amadman the Amar, who says that it is even menachai, the only reason it's not decomposing is because it's not exposed. It's not the nourishment from the animal that's keeping it, it's just that it's not exposed, but it's really not part of the animal, therefore it's Eiver Menachai. Idach, Haidele Barian, the other Manam who says that it's mutter, he says that which it doesn't recover, it's because it was damaged, so it can't get better, but it's still getting nourishment from the animal. Amalei Rav Yochanan of Shaman Bar Abba. Yochanan said to Shaman Abba, Hani Bei Chashilta Sharian. He says, these Bei Chashilta, the psak is that they're mutter. Like the Mandam who said before that it's mutter, it's not even menachai. However, you can't partake of it because you're from, I think he says, from Bavel, and therefore, in there, they're makbid on this, and therefore you can't, you have to follow the top Rashi, over there, they're Naik Isser, so therefore you have to be Naik Isser as well. Amar Mar Baravashi, Hani Bei de Gadya. the bayim of a gedi, a young goat. So we said that it has a lot of dam in it. Ad tlosin yoimin sharin, beloy klipa. Even though we said that generally they're not, you can't eat them because of the membrane on top of them, they're full of dam. But if they're less than 30 days from birth, they haven't yet absorbed dam. Therefore, they don't need to be peeled to eat. If they've already become caved, they've already started holding zera, then they're asur. But if not, that's the simon that they have dam. And if not, they're mutter. Minoyadin. How can you tell? So asirin. If they have red streaks in it, that shows that it's already capable of being mazriya. There's already zer in it, and it already has dam, and therefore the asur lasbu shuriki sumki sharin. But if they don't, then it's mutter. Umtzi. We're going to explain. The Gemara is going to explain. Rashi is going to explain. It's talking about meat that an animal got a bruise and blood collected in it, so it's reddened meat, and the bay that we just described. Well, mizraki are from the
Neck.
jugular veins. Pligi bar of achav ravina. They argue over that. So they argue about these things, about whether they're mutter or not. We'll see what the machlokes is in a minute. But first, the Gemara goes on a little tangent. We always find that Ravina is Mekel. Ravacha is Machmer. The Hilchas is Ravina Lakula. We always follow Ravina Lakula. Labar Mehani Tlas, except for these three that we just mentioned, of Umtzi Beyu Mizraki, the meat, the basar, and the bayim, and the neck, or the jugular, the Ravacha Lakula, Ravina Lachom, Hilchas Ravacha. We follow in the machlokes over here. This is the one place where Ravacha is Lakula, and we pass like him in this one case. What are these cases? Umsa the asmik. We're talking about meat that got reddened, it got damaged, and it collected blood in it. So chatcha, if you cut it up, which opens up the dam and makes it possible for the dam to come out. Umocha, and you put a lot of salt on it. Afilu l'kedera nami shapedami, and then you put it into a pot. Once you've done that, so the salt removed the blood, so now you could cook it in a pot. You don't have to worry about blood coming out of it. Talya nabishapuda dov damo. Or alternatively, if you roast it over a fire, you broil it, that will also take out the blood, and you don't need to cut it, and you don't need a lot of salt. Rashi says you just need a small amount of salt. A gumri, what happens if you don't put it roast it on a spit over the fire, but you put it directly on coals? Pligi baravacha ravina. Chad amar mishav she'ivile, v'chad amar mitzvah samsele. So this is the machlokes Ravacha and Ravina that we said about utzmi. So in this case, where you put it on coals, this is what they're arguing about. One man the amar, which we just said, which is the one place where Ravacha is lakula and Ravina is lachumra. So in this case, Rav Acha is saying lakula, that putting it on coals draws out the blood the same way putting it on a spit over a fire, a broiling, and it will become mutter for that. V'chadam mitzvah samsi, and Ravina would say no, it causes it to shrivel up, to tighten up, and to keep the blood inside. V'chein bei v'chein mizraki, and just like this machlokes that they have by Umtzi, they also argue about the bayim and about the jugular veins. L'chayra, about whether you can roast it on coals. Reisha bekivsha. So Rashi explains this. The head is boiled or haroish kisharoitzim hasasari. When you want to take the hair off the head of an animal, nice love mayim. You pour water on it. You bake it in ash, and that burns off the hair. So when you do that, if you do that and you place it with the neck on bottom, that causes the blood to drain out from the heat. I guess it functions like roasting. Visharin, it's mutter. At studden, but if you put the head of the animal on its side, mikvah coffee, the blood will pool inside of the skull and will be usher. Yeah. If you place it on its nostrils, dots midi, if you make a hole in the nostrils, shari, then it's going to be mutter. Viloi, asa. But if you don't make the hole, it's going to be asa. Because that's not going to be, the blood's not going to be able to get out through the nostrils without making a hole. Ikeda Amri, others say, Anachira ve'esashchita dov. They say that no, the nostrils don't need any preparation. Just like from the base ashchita, the blood will go out. Will also go out through the nostrils. At studden, but excuse me, at studden, but on the side, e dots be midi shari. If you make a hole in the, I guess the cheek of the animal, the Rashi says like it's studden is really the jaw. I don't understand exactly how it works, but wherever it is, wherever that the blood is pooling in the skull, if you make a hole, it will allow it to go out. Be loy asan. If not, it's going to be asan. Zok the Gemara. Gufa. Amrav Yudah Amar Shmuel. Shnei gidin hein. We said earlier from Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Shnei gidin. There are two gidin in the yerach. Hapnimi samach la'atzem aser. The one that's on the inside, near the bone, is aser because it's the giranosha. V'chayav alav, and you chayav on it. Chitzon samach lebasa aser ve'en chayav. But the one on the outside is aser, midirabanan, but you're not chayav alav midiraisa karas. Malchus. In fact, Mavatanya pnimi samach lebasa. We said the pnimi is samach la'atzem, near the bone. But we have another brisa that calls it the pnimi. The pnimi is certainly one that's aser deraisa. But in one case we call it samach la'atzem. In the other case we call it samach lebasa. Amarav Kahana, including miklin. He says it's true that it's near the bone, but it also can be called samach lebasar because at some point it diverges. The giranosha goes away from the bone and it sticks itself, like Rashi says, like a key into a keel into the basar, but it still remains the same giranosha that's also. In fact, on the second part, Vatanya chitzon samach la'atzem, we said the chitzon that samach lebasar is asur, and it's ve'en chayav alav midirabanan. But in another place we call it simach la'atzem, it's close to the bone. Rav Yehuda heicha the pari tafchi. It's talking about after the butchers remove the leg of the animal, so that causes the gid, I guess, to move. That outside gid will be near the bone. Itma tevach shenimtza chelav achra. A butcher who supposedly was doing his job and removing all the chelav, and then a rabbi saw his work and he found chelav afterwards. Yehuda Amar kibesayra, he's going to be Rabbi Yechon Amar bekazayis. Yehuda says even a sa'ira, he's the butcher is going to be punished. Rabbi Yechon says a kazayis. Amar Papa v'loy pligi, and they're not arguing. Kan lahal koisei. When we said that bis that means he gets malchus. He gets malchus midirabanan. That's going to be the punishment for leaving over a kasaira of chelav. Kan la'avroi, but if you find the kazayis, then not only does he get malchus, he even gets banished. He loses his job. He's going to have to get reinstated. He has to do tshuva in order to get back his job as a sheikh. Mazutra seems to disagree. Rishonim have different pshatim. He says that it's all the same punishment. I don't know whether it's to give him malchus or for him to lose his job, but he says if you find a kasayir in one place, then it's going to be asa. But if you find little dots of it, it has to be a kazayis. If it's spread out, it has to be a kazayis in order for it to be punished. The halacha is like the first prat, that, like we said in the first prat, that he gets malchus for kazayis, and Oh, it's the other. How does that work? No, I missed this. It's saying the other way around. Ah. Well, kosher because I avoid because I. So maybe I said it wrong before. That you get malchus. So maybe the other way it was the other way around. Well, you say a kazayas is to get malchus, but if you do a sa'ira, then you lose your job, but you don't get malchus. Okay, so I guess you lose your job in either case, but if it's the kazayas, then you get malchus as well. Okay, Zak the Gemara. Ein hatavach ne'aman. Go back to our Mishnah at the beginning of the parak. We're about to finish this Mishnah. At the end, we said, Ein hatavachim ne'aman mal gid hanasha. We were just talking about chaylev. Now we're talking about gid hanasha. They're not believed on the gid hanasha. Divir mei v'chamar ne'aman malav ala chaylev. The chacham say the ne'aman on that as well as chaylev. Stop to Gemara. Rav Chia bar Abba Rav Yechon. Chazru loymar ne'aman. They regretted this. That even though they originally said they are not Neman, right? We just said from the Mishnah that Reb Meir said that they're not Neman. They were chayzer on that. Amar Rav Nachman, Echshuri Dara. Is it possible that at first they said, Meir said it was not kosher, and then later on, the later generation was better, and then they could trust them? In the beginning, they held like Reb Meir, who says that it's also. It's not that the later people were more chashav, but rather they were chayzer on the psak. First they were paskin like Reb Meir that people that tavachim cannot be trusted, and they changed it that they can be trusted.
It doesn't answer the question.
No, because the psak was not based on whether people are more trustworthy. It was be'etzem mashayla. Can you trust the butcher? So it's not that the circumstances changed. The psak changed.
Because Rashi seems like
Rashi says back in the Mishnah. Because it's hard for them to get it out. And yeah. We'll see why the Rabbanon, why they disagreed, where Yehuda disagreed with Rameya in a second. Well, at least, but in this chat, I guess they're arguing about the Ikar din, not about these trustworthiness of butchers. It's a question of how hard is it to do. L'chatchil they pass like Rameya, and they change it to Rabbi Yehuda. Ikdam Asila Seif. Some say it is going not on both Rabbi Yehuda and Rameya, but rather it was going on the Chacham. I'm sorry. Yeah, right. This is a general machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda and Rameya.
Of how much you need to do to remove it.
That means they held like Rameya, and Rameir holds the chlal. We had this on Daf Tzadi Beis. It was a machlokes main review of how much you have to do. So l'chatchila, that which we paskins when it said like Rameir was because they paskin like Rameir in the Mishnah. And
if it was a neman, but once he changed it's not such a.
That it's not such a hard thing to do.
Then they went back to them. Then they said
they were neman. And you can the master law seifa on the last part of the mission. They say they are neman on the Giranosha and on the chelav. Then he said before we said what the psak was, they were chayzer to say a nemanim. Amar Rav Nachum bizman hazeh nemanim. Rav Nachum then said, even though Rav Chia bar Abba said that they were chayzer to say they're not nemanim, meaning So that we could understand that Chayz would say Nemanim because that's an Achshadara. That's the Dara got Shvacha. But he said then Bisman Hazeh Nemanim. So now we have a problem. Achshuri Dara. Does that mean that the Dar got better? How is it possible to be such a thing? So Gemara, no. The whole thing was a different discussion. Mikara Savrok Rabbi Yehuda. Originally, when they say it was mutter, it was like Rabbi Yehuda. Then when they said it's also, it wasn't because the dar got worse, but it's because they said you had to do a higher level of removing the giddin. But the problem was that as long as, even though the problem was, so we're saying they're not trusted. The problem was that they would still be holding like Rabbi Yehuda. So we couldn't trust them when they said they were going to do it. The Hashta, the Anshuya, Rabbi Yehuda Behemni. Now, this is a separate question that we were chayzer to say that they could be Neman even if you hold like Reb Meir. It's the problem is not Be'etzem Reb Meir's higher level that's required, because that's not the reason they were not Neman. The reason they were not Neman was because they held of Reb Yehuda originally. It had nothing to do with whether they could go and dig out the chutin. Okay, then the Gemara finally says, "V'ala chelev man de kashmei." We said first we said Rameya holds the Gidanasha, they're not nemen, and Yehuda said they are nemen on the Gidanasha and the chelev, but we hadn't discussed the chelev before. Chelev man kashmei hagam ein neman olav ala chelev v'chamar neman olav ala chelev. Ein chanami Rameya was saying they're not nemen on the Gidanasha as well. The chelev Rabbi Yehuda Chamar arguing on both of them. Kiyasher kayach. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.